because those were the last 2 loads, and it was the end of my empire, if you want to speak.
Hi, everybody. Todd Dankin here with Becoming the King of Pots. And with me, as always, is my infamous cousin, the King of Pot, Bruce Perlowin. Bruce, how you doing today?
I'm doing great, Todd. I'm very excited for the special guest we have today.
I am too. We're going to get right to that. But before we do, if you are watching us for the first time or the 100th time, please smash that like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us right here at Becoming the King of Pot with our request. And if you want some Becoming the King of Pot merch, head over to www.becomingtkop.com. That's becomingtkop.com. And thank you all for your support up to this point. So, Bruce, we have a special guest with us today, a lovely lady. Why don't you tell everybody who she is?
Well, this is Toni Perlowin. She is my favorite sister-in-law. She was married to the famous Dockmaster, Craig Perlowin. And
Yes.
I met her in Miami, but I'll let you narrate the story.
All right, Toni, welcome to the podcast. We appreciate you showing up and giving us your perspective of life in and around the King of Pots.
Well, hey,
What part of the world
Todd.
are you coming to us? Yeah, what part of the world are you in these days?
Oh, I'm outside of Cleveland, Ohio, these days.
Ah,
Like,
Cleveland rocks.
well, yeah. Even though they had their lake on fire, but yeah.
Oh, that's funny. So Toni, you and Craig were married. How long were you guys married?
I would say 10 years.
10 long years married to that guy, huh?
My
It had its
condolences.
challenges.
Yeah. We'll talk about that, but really, we want to talk about, how you were intertwined, not only with Craig, but with Bruce and with the whole organization, right? Bruce had the company, right? And lots of folks were working for him. He was doing lots of things in Miami, all throughout Florida, out in California and Colombia. Where did you fit in, and how did you first get introduced to Bruce and the company?
Well, I didn't know Bruce had a company. But yeah, I met Craig March 81. After Bruce's hung jury trial in Miami. He had a weekend party, and my roommate was Sally Heck, which was friends with Bruce.
Mhm.
So she talked me into going to this party.
Did it take a lot of convincing?
I don't think so. It was on a Saturday night,
Yeah. All right, so you show up to the party and you meet Craig, and is it love at first sight?
I don't think I'd call it love at first sight. There was a connection.
Yeah. Well, good. Then you guys started hanging out, I guess, and who asked who out on the date first?
Oh, he asked me. And then he had to fly back to California after a few days.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, were
So,
you aware that Craig had 34 girlfriends? That's what we learned in an earlier
not at
episode
that
of this.
time.
We
Not at
learned,
that time. I think it's bullshit,
right.
to be honest. I know he had some, but
Right. Yeah,
I
34 was a lot. It was, I questioned him on that too,
I mean,
but
who would do that with that many girlfriends? I mean, that's like over time, right?
I guess, Bruce, how did that work out, those 34 girlfriends?
Yeah, Bruce.
Well, I never knew him because I never saw him because I was always busy doing different things. He had his world that he was running for me, and I had my world. And, like the party. The party was the after party of the celebrating the hung jury that we actually won that case. I ended up getting 30 months probation, no jail time, and we really slaughtered the government. We had the most amazing attorney ever, Alan
Silver.
Silber, yeah, out of New York. So I don't even know if I met Tony at that time.
I
So
don't think you did.
yeah.
I really don't.
So the 34 girlfriends were outside my orbit or my sphere of
Right.
awareness. Let's say I
Right.
was into the boats, into the stash houses, and into the laundering the money and buying hotels and building houseboats and flying the marijuana to the west coast of Colombia. And
Sure,
Craig
sure, sure.
was running his empire, a chunk of a subset of the company, as we
Right.
called it.
Right. Got it. So,
I think
so you
it's
start dating.
bullshit.
Well, okay. So there you have it. Another scoop right here on Becoming the King of Pot. Craig lied about his 34 girlfriends. There you go.
Well, he had to, do his ego to match Bruce's, so.
I suppose. Yeah, that's for sure. So you start dating Craig, and he's flying in and out of town. What's that dating scene like? And do you even know that there's marijuana being smuggled?
Oh, God, no. I was a working girl, I had no clue.
Yeah, you're not
None.
saying you were a prostitute, right? Like that
Oh,
kind of
God,
working girl.
no.
No, you had a job.
I had an 8 to 5 job. I went to
Right.
college at night. Um, I worked for a company that manufactured anti-theft devices. I mean, really.
Right. That's
Um,
funny.
for 5 years, so I
Right.
had
Well,
no
So
clue.
well,
right.
did
So how long did you guys date before you got married?
A year.
Oh wow, only a year.
Yeah, but a lot happened in that year.
Oh well, do tell.
Well, I made flights to California, you know. I brought back envelopes of money. I had no clue what they were.
Yeah. Well, tell us about that. I mean, when you're asked to carry something on a plane, do you ask what it is? Do you just trust Craig? Do you just kind of do your thing? Or was it nerve wracking?
Oh, no. I didn't ask questions. I just said, "Okay, it can go on my luggage," because he would say, "You have to give this to Gary." Um, I never questioned any of that. I had no clue. And back
Right.
in those days, it was, there was this travel agency not far from where he lived with his parents, and you would always go and book your flights ahead of time and get the hard ticket and nah, no big deal. I never asked.
Got it. And was it mainly money you were flying back and forth?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
And
I'll
when did
interject
you?
the mechanism.
Sure.
Craig was laundering his money through my parents and Gary, my other brother's jewelry store. So Tony would fly cash back, give it to Gary. They would buy jewelry and sell jewelry, and run it through the business and then pay Craig a paycheck. Now, Tony didn't know any of this, but she was an integral part of laundering drug money.
I had no
Nice.
clue. And you know what? Um, the first couple trips when I went to San Francisco, he was called a different name.
Yeah, Steve Travis, right?
No,
No,
that was
that
Bruce.
was me.
Oh, Craig had a different name. Got it. Oh, what was
Tony
Craig's name?
King. Tony King.
And what did you think of
Oh,
that?
Well, I never questioned it. I just thought, okay, his middle name is Tony or Anthony. I never questioned it.
did you not question it because you didn't care, or you were too much in love, or you were just kind of doing your thing?
I think I was in love, And, I mean, I wasn't a dumb blonde, but it just never dawned on me anything was off.
Right.
I could I know
And
it
you never
doesn't make
asked him
sense.
Yeah, you never asked him what he did for a living, and did he say he was in the jewelry business?
No, I didn't ask.
Did you suspect anything?
No, I didn't. Even when we went to lookout spots and we were playing tourist, no.
What do you
That's
mean
funny.
lookout
So
spots?
Well, my first trip out to San Francisco, I was out there for a week. Um, we would go and drive around. And I thought he was this, I was being a tourist, big deal. And we went to look at the Coast Guard station and he had his binoculars and I thought, okay, I'm seeing San Francisco. Uh, no, none of that
that's it.
ever dawned on me, ever.
Interesting. And did you not know what he did for a living when you married him?
Well, by then I had found out.
Okay, so a year later, but it's only a year, right? So the first year you were like, I guess everything's cool. And then what was that moment that you found out that he was a smuggler?
Well, that was a lot of stuff. You know? Um, multiple trips flying back, which I found out had money in my envelopes. Um, making sure Gary got it. Craig would be gone. Jackie Sue would come in and stay. Um, a lot of things, but I don't think I was slammed with knowing that much for a while.
All right. So once you find out, what do you think? Are you thinking, what have I gotten myself into? Or are you thinking, wow, this is really exciting? Or I got to get out of here? Or it's just kind of the way it was?
Just the way it was.
Hmm.
I didn't care, you know? It I didn't care.
Right. Right.
Well, was your
And
attitude about marijuana, "It's no big deal, it's just marijuana, at least he's not a hitman," or?
Yeah, it was no big deal, you know? It was just pot. Who would
right.
care?
But still illegal and still, a whole black market, that is consuming. Um, but I guess as part of that hippie culture that you guys were a part of, it was just an everyday occurrence.
Well, yeah, at least it wasn't cocaine or like the cocaine cowboys and all the violence and no. It was okay. I didn't
Yep.
care.
Right. Right. So you find out that he's a smuggler. You guys are married now. And, what's your guys' life like on a daily, on a monthly? And when do you get to meet the king?
At my wedding.
Oh, is that the first time you guys met?
Yeah, and some of his people were there too.
Hmm.
Remember, Bruce?
Yeah. I mean, Todd was there, actually.
Well, not
Yeah.
just Todd. Wasn't Mark there?
Mark was there, Bearded Steve was there. I think maybe the honest smuggler Kelly Dothett was there, George Dothett was there, I think.
I think George, I don't remember.
Becky was there,
Yes.
and,
Donnie,
Donnie.
Jackie Sue.
Well, who is Donnie and Jackie Sue? We haven't had Donnie on yet. He's scheduled to come on, and you mentioned Jackie Sue earlier. But who is this mysterious Donnie that is actually was part of my life the entire 15 years, actually longer, 20 years during this period? What do you remember about Donnie and his
Oh, a
role
lot.
in the organization?
A
Donnie
lot.
wasn't Donnie Craig's right-hand man?
Yeah,
Yeah, that's what I
yeah,
thought.
yeah.
I met
So tell us about Donnie.
I met on my first trip out. I had taken a vacation from work, and I was flown out to San Francisco, and I met Donnie and Jackie Sue for the first time, and they called him Tony. So, it's like I'm 22 years old. Okay, let me go with it. Let's see what happens. I meet them. I sightsee. We hang out. Craig and Donnie were gone some days for hours at a time. So Jackie Sue and I would go, and she liked Macy's. So we would do that or have lunch. And, I just got to see what San Francisco was like. She was very nice. Um, Donnie liked to bust her chops and, would, give her a hard time about eating meat or drinking Glenlivet scotch or, he liked to be in control. But he and Craig would be gone for hours at a time. But Jackie Sue and I, we had our own thing that we did while I was out there that week.
Right.
So,
And when did you guys start living together so you spent more time together?
oh gosh.
I mean, in the same state.
Well, Craig ended up, let me see. It had to been late 81. He bought the furnished condo above his parents, Bubby and Leroy. Um, Leroy wasn't that healthy, and he wanted to be close by. And then when he would fly back and forth, he didn't have to stay at a hotel. So I he convinced me to stop working because he goes, "Wait a minute, you're only taking home $250 a week." And I'm like, "But I have gray bennies, the stock." And anyway, he convinced me to stop working, stop going to college. So I was basically living in the condo, keeping an eye on the parents, and I'd fly out to San Francisco
Yeah, good gig.
and bring money back.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Good gig if you can get it. Right.
Well, somebody had to do it. Bruce made it, so
Now
So,
Tony
Bruce, how
became
did you
Go ahead, Todd.
I was just gonna say, how did you, I know you used lots of family members to deliver packages and, is that just a trust factor or ease of use?
Trust factor. I mean, you got a million people working for you that you trust and you grew up with that are still part of your organization. Probably 20 of us, from Kelly to Mark to Donnie to Cecil to Harry. All these characters were, long-term friends and business associates. Ease of use, but also trust. She's not gonna rip off her husband. This was actually Craig's money, not mine. It was what I paid him, and then he laundered to the store. Now, Tony became much more I'd like to know when she first became aware that of the size and scope of the organization, and she certainly played a big part in my life after I got busted and was around when the 2 loads that Donnie and Craig worked on after I was in jail. She was an integral part of that, information chain from me to other people in prison 'cause, she was like a secretary, but we'll get into
Right.
that. So the question I have, Tony, is when did you first realize the size and scope of the organization? And walk us through what happened when I got arrested and what was going on in your world and Craig's world then.
I don't think I realized the size and scope until after the wedding in '82. And then I saw money and things happening. And Nicole was born in 83, and then you got arrested. No, Nicole was born September 82. You got arrested March 83. And then we went to California to pick up money from the load that came through from Donnie. And Nicole was maybe 6 months old. But between your arrest and us picking up that money, I was your secretary.
Okay, so let me put that in perspective, what happened and the time frame. I get arrested March 15th, March 11th, somewhere around there in Chicago, and I go to jail. There was a boat on the water going down to Columbia to get a big load. So at that point, you don't know, what do they know? You don't know how many wiretaps, how many phone conversations were recorded. Do they have a informant in the group? Do they know about the boat? Do they know the name of the boat? Do they know, what's coming back to the dock? Do they know about the dock? You don't know what they do know and what they don't know. So I got word through my attorney to tell Craig to turn the boat around and don't use the dock, and then get a different boat and go back down and get the load. I mean, we had it was either 20 or 30,000 pounds, and I put $10 a pound, so $200,000 to $300,000, a lot of money for a down payment for a load. So we're going to get that load, whether I'm in jail or not.
Right.
So they turn
Right.
the boat around. They go back, and Donnie and Craig are now partnering up in the load, and they're the majority owners of that load. I'm just going to get whatever, money from my attorneys from the load. And that's when she's talking about when that money came in, and it was big money, for Craig. And I'm in jail, and I don't know who to talk to. I mean, I would call Toni. "Hey, Toni, you got a pencil?" "No, hello, how are you doing?" It was all straight business, 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 totally focused. And I couldn't write letters to other inmates. So and you meet inmates now in jail, county jail, the other county jail. Then I'm in Texarkana, and and then I went to Pleasanton. And one particular letter she wrote, because one inmate could not write to another inmate. I couldn't send a letter from Pleasanton to Steve Kalish in this particular case, who is still in Texarkana. I met him in Texarkana, and we'll have him on the podcast later to tell some of the funniest prison stories and some of his background. But anyways, so I called Toni. I said, "Write this letter." I said, "Steve, you got to get to Pleasanton. There's women here." Okay. So she would dictate the letter. I give her the address, and she sent that off to Steve. And Steve actually remembers getting that letter and arranging for his transfer to go to Pleasanton. So what do you remember about? So what other kinds of things did I have you do? Because I was full time. You don't just stop working all of a sudden when you get arrested. No, you still have that entire world you're running, from houseboats to docks to boats, and you had to keep it going. And Toni was, like like my main lieutenant or general, communicating through me in prison. What do you remember about some of the stuff you were doing?
Well, I know I rented a typewriter, and I had a 6-month-old
Okay.
baby. And once I kind of figured out your calling schedule, I was able to play it right. I typed all kinds of correspondence for you. I mailed them. I got stamps. Whatever you wanted done, I did. In addition to getting Aubrey.
Now, Aubrey
So,
was my son, and talk about, because I couldn't be with them. So, what did you and Craig's role end up being with Aubrey?
oh my gosh. Anytime he had off from school, Easter break, vacation, Christmas, Thanksgiving, we would drive to Homestead and pick him up. And he would stay with us during that whole vacation. We took him to
Where
Toys R Us. He liked to go out to eat. Whatever he wanted to do. We hung out at the pool. He read Nicole's stories. He was my second child.
and where was Where was Diane during all that? She was just you were kinda just renting the kid?
Well, we weren't renting per se. We were paying for the kid. How about that? But he always had a great time. He got to see his grandparents, his cousins, his aunts, his uncles. You know, we just took care of him while Bruce was not available at the time.
Right.
Took him to the
Right.
beach. We had cookouts. Yeah.
So my question now is, tell us about the last 2 loads of the organization, because those were the last 2 loads, and it was the end of my empire, if you want to speak. Even though I was in jail, no, that wasn't the end. There were still some tie loads that came in separately from these 2, but these are the last 2 that came in from Colombia. What do you remember about those and the money you got and all that stuff?
Well, I know there was one load that came in August of 1983. Craig and I, while Nicole was born, we flew to Texas, picked up my mom, went to Vegas, drove from Vegas to California, met up with Donnie. He didn't pay Craig everything he was supposed to have. I think it was like $100,000 short. Plus, a couple of the workers had given money to help for your lawyers. And we left there. We drove back to Texas, put a little bit of money in a safety deposit box, and then flew back to Fort Lauderdale. And then Craig came up to Chicago or wherever you were at that time to give money to your attorneys. I know a couple years go by, Mike, the Colombian, comes to our house because another load had sunk and he couldn't get in touch with Donnie. So he needed proof, to say it had sunk. I really liked him. He was so nice and he was pleasant. So I think that was 85, 86.
Yeah, let me just interrupt for a second. So what do you mean, a boat sunk, so your supplier from Colombia comes and shows up and says, "Where's my boat?"
Yes.
Oh,
Because, he wasn't getting his money, right? So
yeah,
you had to prove that the boat sunk. And he couldn't get in touch with Donnie, so he came to our house.
got it. And
And
Bruce,
he
all this
wanted
is happening while you're in jail, right? So
Yeah,
you
I'm
have
in
no
jail,
control
and
over
it's
this.
very interesting, the closed loop here. The first boat, if you remember way back in episode 0 and episode 1, we talked about a boat sinking offshore and Mike coming and saying, "Bruce, let's go for a ride," and the hitman's in the back, and I'm gonna die and get shot if they don't believe me, if they think I stole the load because the boat sank. In that particular case, there was no article, and they just had my word. Now, what is this, 4 or 5 years later, the last boat, after they got the successful load in it when I was in prison, they turned the boat around, got another boat, went down and got that. They did another load. It took a couple years to get it together and, went down and brought that one out, and that boat sank on the way up. All right. So that's what she's talking about now. So the first load sank, the last load sank.
Hmm.
Nice bow, tie a bow ribbon on it, and you've got the King of Pots, Colombian smuggling
Right.
organization.
and Craig
Start
had to take a ride, like Bruce,
Same
you
ride.
know? And I watched him get in the car, and before he got in the car, he goes, Well, if I'm not back in a good amount of time, there's a problem, you know? So he got taken for a ride like you did, Bruce.
Yep.
And how do you how do you repair that relationship now that if it's your last one and it's sunk, how does Mike get paid?
Well, he did not get paid in that one. Craig actually flew out to California, met with the captain, got the newspaper article, flew back, and showed the newspaper article. So it's a wash, you know. I'm assuming, like with me, they had to put $10 down, and that pays a lot of the overall expenses for them. Not all of them, but a big chunk of it. So nobody made any money that load because the load didn't make it in.
Right, right. And proof to the Colombians were a newspaper article at the time saying this boat sunk and we found weed on it.
Yeah, no. What it is, they never found the boat, they never found the weed. They found the captain and the crew on a lifeboat halfway to Hawaii. Ab
Oh,
out in the middle. I don't know if they radioed over, or they just had a flare gun, or how the Coast Guard found them, because it ain't easy to find a life raft in the middle of the ocean.
yeah,
But they did,
yeah,
and then because Vince was a Hell's Angels, he was one of the crew, and he had, tattoos, and he had the Hell's Angels sign, so they just assumed, and it said that in the newspaper, that they were smuggling marijuana, and, because, Hell's Angels, big, tough guy, Vince with tattoos everywhere, and they put that
sure,
in the paper, so that was good for Craig and Donnie and Mike to accept the
right.
fact that, yes, you know, if the load made it in, they wouldn't be halfway to Hawaii in a life raft.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Do you
That's
remember
for
any of
sure.
that, Tony? Do you remember any of that story?
I don't remember the life raft part. I I wasn't giving those type of details. I just knew the load sunk. Mike wanted proof. He was at my house. Craig was going for a ride.
Right, right.
I
So
mean,
so Tony, so Bruce goes to jail. He's sentenced to 2 to 10, right? That's what you were sentenced, Bruce, right?
Well, I was 10 years for CCE, criminal, continuing criminal enterprise, the kingpin statute, and 15 years for racketeering. So on 10, you do 6.8 months, 6 years, 8 months. And on the 15, you end up doing two-thirds. In my case, I did nine and some change. You get good time. So I did more on the 15 racketeering than I did on the CCE, the 10.
Got it. So Tony, while Bruce is in prison, right? What's life like at home? What are you guys doing? What's Craig doing for a living these days? Is he still slinging weed or has he gone
no,
straight at this point?
no. And Bruce, I forgot to say that after you were arrested, a couple months later, the FBI came to my house looking for Craig to talk to him.
How'd that work out?
Well, we had a plan. So, I mean, remember beepers back in those days? I mean, hello, no cell phones. So I beeped him, and then I called. He was at the jewelry exchange. I said, "You're gonna have to go to the hotel that we set up for you to go to. The FBI were just here, so you need to leave." So he left. A little while later, he had found out that, yes, they did go there.
So this was just a normal American escape plan, right?
Oh, yeah. We had, that plan set up too for if any shit came down with that second boat and Mike. We had a hotel where if Mike came and it didn't look so hot, I was to leave with Nicole to a
Hmm.
certain hotel.
I mean, Todd, right? Every American, did you have an escape plan back
Oh
then?
yeah, I had my go box with my 5 passports, right? And my, $100,000 in 20s in a bag, right? And of course I had my mask, so I can So, no, I didn't have any of that.
Well, you lived a different life. How about that?
That is
You
true,
know?
and it's funny
So
because, my dad working at the jewelry store and all that, laundered money is coming in, and he doesn't have a clue.
yeah,
Sonny, I loved him. I don't think he really knew what was going on. He was
Yeah, I
so
don't think so either.
sweet to me and so nice. And I think he just thought Gary was an idiot, but he kept his mouth shut. But he was so sweet to me. I loved him.
Thank you. Yeah, he was a sweet guy, and, yeah, he was very well loved, that's for sure. Um, R.I.P. Sonny,
we were
for sure.
very
Shout out
lucky,
to Sonny.
Todd. My mom and dad were wonderful. Your mom and dad were wonderful. I never knew Tony's mom and dad, but, we didn't have parents that were alcoholics or drug addicts or beat us or, they were just good, sweet, lovely parents for both of us.
Hardworking.
Oh, yeah.
True that.
They were
Entrepreneur.
hardworking.
Yeah, we really did get lucky because I know lots of my friends had, broken homes and, all of those troubled parents with their whole thing. But, yeah, you're right. We were very lucky. My kids have been very lucky. Um, and, your kids have been very lucky.
I'm
It's in
just surprised, Bruce, your mom didn't take tranquilizers after raising all you boys, especially you and Craig.
Well, for 20 years, she didn't take tranquilizers, but she did take, Dexedrine, okay? So back then, Dexedrine is today we known as speed, right?
Oh,
So it
Yeah, it was
kept
a diet pill back then.
yeah, yep,
Yeah.
and it gave you all this energy, which she had to do to keep up with 4 boys. Now you met Jed, and you said in your notes that he went back to Georgia Tech. What do you remember about Jed the genius?
well, he's brain smart. Common sense, he's lacking a little bit. So when I met Craig in '81, Jeb was co-oping at Georgia Tech. He'd go there for 6 months, then work at IBM for 6 months, right? So while he was gone, after Sally and I weren't roommates anymore, and before Craig bought the condo, I moved into Jed's room. How about that?
Interesting. Yeah, we're gonna have Jed on in a later episode to talk about some of the little technical things that he did, including the electric staircase that he put together for me in that Ukiah house.
I
So
love the Ukiah house. I
Yeah, that was a great
loved
place.
the library. I loved the library. It was a beautiful setting. It was very tranquil, peaceful. Um, I love that house.
Yeah, yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, I spent a few months up there and, yeah, I had a great time, um, when I was right after I graduated high school. So right in the middle of all of that stuff that's going on, I graduated high school in '81. So after '81, or after the summer of '81, I ended up in Ukiah around August? Yeah, something like that, or September. Yeah, I had a great time. So how long were you Bruce's secretary while he was in prison?
Seemed like forever. He kept me on my toes. I really don't know.
I think
I
the
can't
entire 9 years.
probably, probably,
And
you know.
what kind of communications were you sending out, Bruce, that, Tony had to take care of?
Well, I still had money when I first got in, and that lasted for probably 5 years. There was a bankroll that I had. Buying books, um, communicating with other inmates, not that much. You make friends there. They're lifelong friends in some cases, but close friends, at least during that period. Um, a lot of it was buying books, I remember. I was really we had the bookmobile, so we could go to any book we wanted, but there was, tech certain books that I wanted. What else did we do? Oh, things for Aubrey, things for Jeremy, interfacing. Did you interface with Becky very much?
Not that much. I did see her a few times, and I loved Jeremy. Oh, my boy. Um, Not that much. She came to visit a couple times when she was with John.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, I'm probably getting off script.
No,
Um,
There's no
wait,
script.
there's a script? Wait,
okay.
wait a second. We have a script?
I think it was early 1982. Your mom, Becky, and we went to Royal Palm Beach to the Psychic off of Heron Boulevard. Becky came out white as a sheet and didn't say anything that happened. Nothing.
What did
Remember that? Do you know
Yeah, and
that?
there was something about that. I forgot what the psychic told her. It wasn't good.
I
Um,
could
Oh,
tell by the
clearly.
white face and not
Was
wanting
that
to
the time,
say
Bruce?
anything.
Bruce, maybe that was the time you got your psychic reading when you were busted in Miami and they told you that you weren't gonna go to jail, you were gonna be free, right?
no,
Didn't
this
that
is a
all that
different
happen?
time. This is a few years later, you
This
know?
is 82, early between January and March.
Yeah,
Ah,
that was a good reading. This was a bad reading.
got it.
Yeah,
Got
you
it.
could tell by her fingernails on your chest that the wedding blood red and that look on her face like I'm gonna scratch you.
Yeah, that's a famous picture with, me and Becky and, I'm all their smiles and think everything's wonderful, and she's got her hand like this on my thing with a look like I'm gonna gouge your eyes out, so we may not have been getting along perfectly at that moment,
You think? Hello.
you know? But, I
So
had to put a
Tony
plug in. She's a wonderful woman, and to this day, we're very
Yeah.
close and good friends.
Oh, that's good. She
So
was
why
always
won't
very
she
nice to
come on
me.
your podcast?
A lot of people don't wanna a lot of peo there's a bunch of people that don't wanna come on because they don't wanna Sally doesn't want to, Carol doesn't want to, Al doesn't want to. They don't wanna remember the past for whatever reason, you know? Um, one guy says it interferes with his spiritual growth at this moment in his career. Not just me, but he didn't wanna write his book, or a screenplay that he had been working on. It's just not the journey they're on now. Um, and it's a great journey because we're telling the story of the golden era of marijuana smuggling from 1960 to 1990, and it's part of history that has to be told in the first person before all the first persons die. But they just
Right.
don't, Marianne, when we first started talking about the movie, she goes, "Oh no, I have a daughter. I don't want her to know what I used to do." So sometimes it's they don't want their children to know. Sometimes they I'm not gonna say anything about my current situation or what my
Got
girlfriend doesn't
it.
want her daughter to know. But, so they're all different reasons, yeah.
I'm surprised Sally doesn't want to.
I would love to have Sally on because Sally predates all this stuff because of, high school when we first started
Exactly.
smoking pot,
Exactly.
you know?
Maybe you can convince her.
I could convince her. I'd have to go and visit her and talk to her in person. I know Sally really well. Okay. Just like at the trial, she wasn't gonna come and be a witness for us or for the government, and then I went and talked to her in person and said, "Sally, this is me. We grew up together. You don't need to worry about anything." So
And he's gonna give her that look, Todd, that he does, like that shit-eating grin, and he'll talk Sally into it.
Nice. Nice. So Tony,
Yes,
wrap up for us if you can, the whirlwind 10 or 12 years that you were in and around, Team Perlowin and what your, overall final experience was, living that life for as long as you did?
It was a whirlwind, let me tell you. You never knew what was gonna happen. You had to be able to roll with it, you know? Um, a lot of love in the family, a lot of, closeness.
Mhm.
Um, Sometimes they made me a whack job, like Bruce, your mom, I had to give her a beeper when she just wanted to pop in. But it was interesting. I never felt, like I was in any danger or anything. It was exciting. It
And
was.
and yeah, I bet it was. And when you reminisce and you're in living your life and you're telling your stories in your life to your friends and all of that, it seems like you look back on this era very fondly.
I do.
Bruce is very famously known for, saying after all of you did all the things that you did and all the things that you suffered through, would you do it again? And,
Yeah.
he's famously says, "Yes, of course I would do it again." So, let me ask
Yes,
you,
I
Tony.
would.
Yeah?
And not all my friends know all this.
Well, they will now. You
Well,
know?
I don't know about that. Sally's brother and his wife, who I introduced 47 years ago, they know. And they were shocked to see on YouTube the podcast.
Oh, yeah? Nice.
Yeah. So, no, I would do it again. I think I would do a couple things different,
Yeah, of
but
course.
nah.
Well, Bruce is thinking about putting the band back together, and no, I'm just kidding.
Well,
Right.
one of the things I definitely want to do is a reunion, not just a reunion with our group, but a reunion with all the smugglers that we're eventually going to have on this podcast. And it'll be either in St. Pete or in Reynolds Park, one of those two places in Florida.
Or maybe at the movie premiere.
Oh, that's a great idea. Like, what's it called? The rap party or something? Or the
No, at the
premiere of the
premiere.
movie?
At the premiere, yeah.
So is Reynolds Park still Reynolds Park?
It's still Reynolds Park,
Yes.
and they have a Love-In every year sponsored by the city, just like in the '60s. They
Oh my god.
reinvented that.
That's funny. Bruce, anything else you want to chat with Tony about?
Yeah, one thing, Tony, did you ever do anything illegal? Or were you opposed to doing anything illegal yourself as part of the organization, like sell pot?
I don't think anything I did was illegal because the only thing I did was transport money that I didn't know was money in envelopes that were stamped and addressed. So, no, I didn't do anything illegal.
A
There's
little
still time.
nuance for those people transporting money, if you have a stamp on it, they can't search it without a federal warrant because it's US mail.
But that was a long
Ah.
time ago, Bruce. Do they still have that?
I don't know, I'd have to research it.
Right.
Unfortunately, we don't have that issue in today's world.
Right. And that is today's smuggling tip right here on Becoming the King of Pots. If you need to transport money, put a stamp on it. It becomes federal.
And address the envelope.
Make sure
You
you
have
address
to
it. But
address it.
can it be a random address or does it have to be somebody? Doesn't that implicate the person that you're addressing it to?
Then back then.
Yeah. All right. Well, we can learn lots of smuggling laws right here at Becoming the King of Pots. So make sure you stick around for more episodes. And if you haven't seen the early ones, start with episode 0, drive it right through to wherever you are today. And we appreciate everybody watching. Tony, thanks a lot for joining us here on
Thank
Becoming the
you.
King of Pots. It's been a lot of fun reminiscing about the old days. Bruce,
I
as
have more
always.
stories.
Oh, all right. Well, we'll have to have you
Okay.
back. All right. So, Bruce, anything, any last words?
So I want to really thank Toni for being on, because most of the people we've had on this show was intimately involved with the actual smuggling, the captains, the crew, the offloaders, and Toni was peripheral. She got to see everything that was going on from an outside perspective, and also she got to describe how secretive we were. She was right there. She was, the Dockmaster's wife and girlfriend before that, and had no clue what we were doing right in front of her eyes. So we really were good at hiding what we were doing. And her perspective was very refreshing for seeing what we did from the outside looking in.
Yeah, that's for sure. It does. It amazes me that you didn't know what was going on while it was going on. And you're right, Bruce. That is a testament to the company and the secrecy. So, again, Toni, thanks a lot for joining us. We'll see you down the road on another episode, perhaps. And Bruce, as always a lot of fun telling the old stories. He's Bruce Perlowin. She's Toni Perlowin. I'm Todd Dankin, and this is Becoming the King of Pot. We'll see you next time.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thank you, Toni. Thank you, Todd.